Strong Humans, good evening. We got a little ruck and talk going on. Now, I'm going to try to not have this be a long video because I want you to get this, apply it, and benefit. The reason why I'm making this video is because a new Stronger Human, I believe Zach Green, he mentioned in a comment, so I didn't even see a video from him, but he mentioned in a comment that, every time he's been doing rope flow, after every single session, he was feeling like it caused him more pain. And again, I didn't see a video of his, but inherently, I understood that any new movement practice that a majority of the population starts, any new movement practice, when you're learning new skills, when you're learning new movements, when you're learning to do new things, even when you're reading something new, sometimes this happens to people when they're reading something and they're thinking hard, some people tend to pause and hold the breath. But what happens when you hold the breath is your body starts to stiffen up. When you hold the breath, you're not going to move as freely. When you hold the breath, if you try to do things that would require tissue pliability and fluidity, you're not going to have access to all of that fluidity because when you hold the breath, your body is trying to keep itself safe. Your body doesn't want to move. Your body will become rigid. And in rope flow, you're learning a new movement practice. They're creeping up on me. They don't like that I'm right here. Sometimes they'll hiss at me. Anyway, when you are doing these new movements, a majority of people, all the people that I've taught in person, even if they don't think they're holding their breath, they're holding their breath because they're trying hard to be successful with the new movement. Now, there's another aspect of not trying, but we're not going to talk about today because I said I was going to respect your time and make a video that's not too long. So with that being said, I commented back to Zach and I said, hey, Zach, my comment probably went along the lines of, I have an inkling that you're not breathing when you're doing these movements. And I have a feeling that if you were to make sure that you breathe and you never hold your breath, that you're not going to be experiencing the pain that you're currently experiencing. Well, I pinned his comment, I pinned his post, and guess what? He goes into his next practice. He makes sure to breathe, and lo and behold, he has no pain at the end of his session, and it's the first time he hasn't felt pain in that way. So I say this to tell you, you may think you're not holding your breath when you're doing certain things in rope flow, but I guarantee if you're new and you're trying to learn a new movement, you are. And that's why with everything that we do, whether it's the way that we're walking, and I made you guys a video talking about walking with forward intent, with the feet, knees facing forward, with that weight shift, and being aware of where your feet are, being aware of what your breath is doing, versus just trying to do the movement, but ignoring the breath, which is gonna help you relax and be able to do the movement more fluidly. Now, the other reason why this is so important is we talked about stiffness, and holding the breath keeps you stiff, but also holding the breath puts you in a more sympathetic tone, puts you in a more sympathetic state, flight or fight, or fight or flight, which will make your tissues hard to move. But when you breathe, you're more parasympathetic, you're more relaxed, you can be more fluid, you can be more in the body, you can more easily get into flow. And this isn't just with rope flow. This is with many of the movements that you do during your day. Without realizing, I talked about this on the Tim Ferriss show, many people have a tendency when they go and bend down to pick something up, they hold their breath because they're trying to keep their back safe. So without even realizing it, they hold their breath. When they're stepping out of their car to step out and they have that little bend, they hold their breath. With every movement that feels a little bit unsafe, they hold their breath. And all of these little inputs train the habit of holding the breath while moving, holding the breath while doing things. We cannot build that habit. Everything I'm trying to show you is to help you break the habit of holding the breath when moving through space. So that's why when you bend down, you want to inhale while going down into position. I talk about this in the Stronger Human Movement Foundations. And then when I come out of this squatting position, I exhale. When you create force, you throw a punch, you exhale. When you go down, you bend down to pick something up, inhale. That is going to keep the breath helping you move. Versus when you bend down, you have this feeling that if I hold my breath, that'll keep my structure safe and that'll keep me together. So, and then exhale at the top. This is exactly the pattern that you want to get rid of with everything. This is why life is training. And all of these little things that you do during your daily practice of just movement will also inform the way that you move with the rope, the way that you move with the sandbag, the way that you do your martial art if you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I think anybody in here that does jiu-jitsu, especially or martial art, understands that when anybody's new, and this was me when I started jiu-jitsu, when you're learning a new movement or you're sparring, when things start to get hard, you hold your breath because you become flustered or you panic. This is one of the reasons why people tend to gas out, because they get in positions and they try to push their opponent off them and they're trying really hard. That's going to be a topic for another day. The idea of not trying, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But this is why, as I mentioned in the Stronger Human Movement Foundations, I really want you guys to learn how to breathe while lifting versus holding your breath while lifting. And logically, I really want you to think about this. I understand the Valsalva maneuver, which is when you have a neutral spine, hold your neutral spine, flex, breathe into this, right? And then you lift a weight and it'll help you lift the most maximum weight. I totally understand how a neutral spine can make sure, and not neutral spine, but the Valsalva maneuver can make sure that your spine doesn't move under load at all. But in everything else in life, we never hold our breath. So that's why I try to help you guys learn how to lift with the breath versus building the habit of holding it when doing things that are strenuous. But this is also why that when you progress with weights, while using your breath as your lever for progressive overload, you work with weights that are reasonable. You don't work with the heaviest loads possible that will make you almost force you to hold your breath. If you start lifting something and you see that and you feel that, ooh, I'm holding my breath, you put it down. You put it down, you go for something lighter, and you work with that weight when you can use your breath to help you lift it, right? You know, you don't need to go as far as me. If you still want to do things that force you to use the Valsalva maneuver, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. I don't want to stop you from reaching your potential goals as far as weights being lifted. But I guarantee that if you start building the habit of using the breath to feed the way you lift and feed the way you move, everything else that comes with movement will get easier. And again, I use Zach as an example because he was trying really hard when swinging the rope with his practice of rope flow. And then he just focuses on allowing himself to breathe into the diaphragm. And suddenly, all the pain he was feeling before, he's not feeling anymore. And that's just on his first day. Think about this, Zach, and I'm speaking to you now. Take this into this practice and take this into, have this compound over a month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, really mastering your breath and movement, what that will do for you. And let me tell you what that does for me. That allows me to move pain-free in pretty much everything that I do because my body is never tense. My body is always creating just enough tension to be able to move the loads I'm trying to move. And I'm never holding more tension than I need to do any task I'm trying to do. For example, when I'm holding this ruck, never holding my breath, I can be fluid and I can be just tense enough to be able to walk these miles and get home safely. So we managed to keep this under 10 minutes. I hope that this helps you out. I'm going to send you guys an email about this in the newsletter at the end of this week, but I just wanted to, really kind of stress the importance to this for all of you. When I talk about breathing in the Rope Flow Foundations, I'm not just trying to say breathe for breathing's sake. I mean it. Breathe. Make sure you're breathing. And especially when you're trying something new, have the awareness to ask yourself, am I holding my breath or am I breathing right now? Because I'm not going to be there to tell you. You're going to have that awareness yourself, and I know that you'll be able to do it. So hope this helps you out. Let's keep it moving. I'll talk to you soon.